Come October 1st, Nigeria will yet be celebrating another Independence Day. It will usually be colored with several speeches, analysis, evaluation, and projection for the future of the nation. But come to think of it, a car shouldn't feel stranded where there are several competent drivers. An aircraft shouldn't cry to be in the space where there are willing and competent pilots. A nation shouldn't feel stranded where there are leaders, competent leaders, willing leaders, leaders of integrity. Today, on Leadership Matters, we are going to be discussing very quickly on something crucial to all leaders. I believe strongly that as a nation, we still have competent leaders, leaders that are full of integrity, intelligent leaders who are willing to be able to lead the nation. But some of these leaders are like a leadership hero that once lived on earth, recorded in the Bible, in the book of Exodus. His name is Moses. He was born at about 1593 BC. He was called into leadership at about 1513 BC. Don't forget, in our last edition of Leadership Matters, we talked about the call to leadership. That all of us have been called into leadership, just like we are called to leadership at different capacities. To be able to lead our nation, to lead the various states and the various local government level, to lead at the economic level, to lead in the political sector, to lead in the sports sector, in the judiciary sector, and what have you. But they feel just like Moses felt. So most of us can lead why we don't feel we are adequate or competent enough to be able to lead just like Moses did. When God called him, he instantly had 5 excuses why he couldn't lead. Excuse 1. He said, "Who am I?" That was documented in Exodus 3 and verse number 11. Moses struggled with his identity. He just didn't feel qualified, just like a lot of us today don't feel qualified, despite the fact that we have the capacity to lead. He thought God picked the wrong leader. I don't know about you. If you have been appointed to a position before and you felt like they picked the wrong leader, God's response was this: "It doesn't matter who you are. I have called you. I am with you." Everyone must have this assurance that we have been called of God to lead, just like we discussed in our last edition. Excuse 2. He says, "Who are you?" That was documented in Exodus 3 and verse number 13. He says, Moses struggled with intimacy and he said to God, "I don't think that I know who is talking with me. I don't think I know the integrity of the person talking with me." He didn't know God well enough to describe him to the people that God sent him to. And his relationship with God was weak. But what was God's response? God said, "I am who I am." In other words, I am anything that you need. And great leaders must arise in this nation knowing their intimacy with God and arising from their relationship with God, knowing that when they get there to the position of leadership in this nation, God is there with them, and God who has called them is going to back up the call to leadership. The third excuse that he gave, he says, "What if they don't listen?" That was in Exodus 4 and verse number 1. Moses struggled with intimidation. I bet you every leader struggled with intimidation. You don't know what to expect from the people you are called to lead. He worried about people's reaction to him. What was God's response again? "When I am finished, they will listen. Trust me." Why? Because God has given to each leader unique capacity, unique equipping that can help you to be able to deliver on the mandate of leadership that God has given to you. The fourth excuse, he says, "I have never been a good speaker." Exodus 4 and verse number 10. Moses struggled with inadequacy. Who would follow him if he couldn't speak well? He felt he was inadequate. You also might be feeling inadequate. But I want to challenge you today that you can lead, just like Moses eventually led. What was God's response to him? He says, "Guess who made your mouth?" I love this. "I am the source of your gifts." Why is that so? Because God made us. All our weaknesses cannot stop us when it comes to whatever God wants us to achieve. It doesn't matter your weakness, you can still lead wherever you are. The fifth excuse that he gave, he said, "I know you can find someone else." Exodus 4 verse number 13. Moses struggled with inferiority. He compared himself with other more competent people and he felt inferior. I don't know if you're feeling inferior today. This usually comes to people especially who are not having ulterior motives, who are not going to leadership for selfish interest. People who purely want to go into leadership with a good heart. They feel usually inferior sometimes. But what was God's response to Moses? He said, okay, I will let Aaron go with you, but I'm still calling you. It doesn't matter our excuses. God has called us to lead, especially people that have been equipped, godly people, people of integrity, who are afraid and scared that I don't want to be polluted and corrupted. Because if I go out there may be many challenges, and I don't know what the response of the people will be. Yet, God has called us, and God is still sending leaders to take on leadership positions to be able to bring the needed change in our nation.